Make way, the prime is here, divine is here, giving that vibe is clear.
Some people in the world today don't realize that worries don't pay. Plenty people in the world today don't realize that worries don't pay. Resting the worries upon your shoulder, only bringing you older and older.
Make way, the prime is here, divine is here, giving that vibe is clear. The woman I am today was made to serve us. Head high, I stand firm, my words hit with purpose. Like stop moving, it's been proven. Women, we're not losing, it's no illusion. You're looking at God's chosen one. So Aliga, St. Martin, you got my attention. To inspire, empower.
XM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and an exciting new airport mall. Finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport. The experience will move you.
And they start to jump around, and they start to tumble down, and they fall on.
Welcome to the Late Night Show. Hope everything is okay. Hope everything is all right. I'm your host, Andrew Dick, and of course, we are on location this time at wonderful Port-au-Plaisance. And it's fitting because the closing of Parliament took place today. Not the closing of the building, no. That would be perfect. But no, the closing of the parliamentary year. Now, per usual, for those who don't know, every single September, the parliamentary years closes, and then on the second Tuesday, they open back. Don't ask me why, but that's how our parliamentary system is set up. It's every single year. Of course, a parliamentary term is 4 years. So this is the final parliamentary year. Until January when we have elections, then the new parliament is sworn in February, and then September it would be, again, we starting back as the first parliamentary year. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse too much, but that's basically how our system set up. Now, during the closing of Parliament is where you get to hear how the Parliament performed for the previous parliamentary year. Not the previous 3.5 years, but of course, because it's election year, everybody's going to put it in one ball, and they're going to explain to you what government has done wrong, and coalition is going to say what the government has done right. And it was a spectacle today in Parliament as the independent members of Parliament now, the people who declare themselves independent had more to say about the wrongdoings and the craziness of government who has lasted for the entire parliamentary term. And they're the one who caused most of the confusion by going independent because they wasn't voted as independent members of parliament. Let's just remind people that they wasn't voted as independent members of parliament. They were voted part of parties. Remember, the parties are the ones that get into parliament, and then of course the representatives are then picked based on the votes, based on who don't want to become a parliamentarian. They end up becoming ministers. Then it goes down to the next person with the most votes. Too much talking? Yes. But I need to set it up so that you can understand that it's going to be a spectacle show today, because we bring you the highlights of the closing of the parliamentary year. And a spectacle it was. We're going to start off with Uncle George Pantophlet, the founding members of the Parliament of St. Martin, the founding members of St. Martin, the founding members, yeah, he's been there long. That's basically what I'm trying to say. He is the de facto faction leader of the National Alliance. And of course, he had something to say because somebody always telling him something. You know, he always starts off with saying, you know, I was walking yesterday and somebody told me this, or somebody called me and told me how much of a great job the National Alliance is doing. Of course, they didn't do it with nobody else. It's only the National Alliance. So we're going to start off with Uncle George. Take a look.
Chairman, we all know for a fact that in order to manage a country properly, no matter who you are, no matter your educational background, Mr. Chairman, you need to have the necessary finances in place. Mr. Chairman, I was totally taken aback when I heard the issue of a letter written by State Secretary Alexander van Huffelen, and basically telling St. Martin government that the issue regards to the in-year situation, that our government have to carry a share of the money that was illegally taken out by Mr. Ansari. Mr. Chairman, the CFT was quite clear as to the problems it would create and continue to create for the government of St. Martin. But yet, the State Secretary, and I believe with support of our government, is saying that it has to be repaid, Mr. Chairman. Let me say this, if she's listening or if they're listening. That's 600 million euros. They should take care of that themselves, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the person that took the money, Mr. Ansari, Mr. Chairman, he are very good friends with those in the U.S. As a matter of fact, the Visionary Prime Rutte, Mark Rutte, was in the U.S. some time ago, sitting down and talking with the President of the United States of America. So they're good pals, I would think, Mr. Chairman. So let them talk about how they're going to go after Mr. Ansari. Don't put it on us. It's not us.
Okay, Uncle George, you see what I said? Somebody told him something. Anyway, now let's get into the gist of independent member of parliament, Akeem Arnal. Now, he's a man of a few words, and he has gained a little bit of confidence. And when he said a little bit of confidence, I had to pause the YouTube link, because I said, this man just said that it took him 3.5 years to gain confidence. Almost 4 years to gain a little bit of confidence, and he's going up for re-election. But since he's a man of a few words, we for sure have to play the whole clip. So we're going to play him from beginning to the end and time it. Please put a timer next to it and see how long this man speak during the closing of Parliament, because he's happy to have supported the government. He's happy of coming in as a member of the United St. Martin Party, the USP. And then as soon as he got into Parliament, I independent. I don't like USP no more. I don't like them no more. Pamela and Gromiko on it, I don't want to be on it no more. I want to go independent. And so he did. Anyway, Akeem Arnal.
Ladies and gentlemen, support staff, good morning. Thank you for joining us today as we mark the gathering of the closing of the parliamentary year. It's an honor to stand before you as a member of parliament, entrusted with the responsibility of representing the interests and wishes of the people of St. Martin. I must admit, speaking has never been my strong point. It's not my nature to be the center of attention. But I'm a firm believer of power of action over words. I have learned that it's not the volume of speech that matters, but the impact of action that defines us. Serving in this position is not an easy task. I can assure you, I have been moments I have been nervous. Or like, no, I'm nervous. But through it all, I have gained a bit more confidence and awareness to fulfill my duties of my best abilities. In this role, I have good days, I have bad days. However, I am committed to keeping this government together for the first full term. While I might have not been a part of the government from the start, I joined because I firmly believed it is best for the country. As we look forward for the upcoming parliamentary year, I sincerely hope that the politics and games could stop on the floor of Parliament, as we could work together as a united front of 15 members who are elected by the people then for our country to put aside our differences and work together and focus what's greater for the good of St. Martin. In closing, I want to express my gratitude and opportunity to serve alongside of you. Together, we have the power to make a difference in the lives of our fellow St. Martiners. That's all.
All right. That was Akeem Arnal, who has joined the United People's Party. I'm going to make sure to tell you where they're going now, because then you understand that we're not voting for individuals, we're voting for parties with individuals. That makes sense? Yes, it does. All right. Next up, we have one of my favorite members of Parliament, and that is, of course, Grisha Heyliger-Marten, independent member of Parliament. Now, we all know the story of Grisha Heyliger-Marten, Heyliger-Marten, and it was long. It was, I for the life of me don't understand this woman. For the life of me, I don't understand this parliamentarian. So her first time running was back in 2020. She ran with the United People's Party, of course, because that's her husband's party. She got the most votes on the United People's Party. She was then elected on the promise of the charter, changing the charter, going independent but not independent, but still asking the Dutch for help, but not helping, not asking for help, not begging, but just for the UN to come in and save us. Not on legislation, even though Parliament is a legislative job. Okay, no. So that's her excuse for not introducing any legislation. All right? You with me still? Okay, good. And then, of course, we know she was president of Parliament. No, Brison was president of Parliament. Brison called her dumb. Brison then had to step down because he called her dumb. She then went as president of Parliament. We noticed that she was dumb. Then Brison had to fire her. Then afterwards, she was like, you can't fire me from my husband's party. Brison said, the hell I can. She went independent, which is another dumb move. But anyway, now she's independent. So she's not part of the DP faction. She's not, because DP don't exist in this parliament. UD exists in parliament. You with me still? Okay, good. And now she's an independent member of parliament on the DP party with the same platform with a little bit of flair. Is St. Martin a real place? Yes, the hell it is. let's go back. Let's go to Grisha Heyliger-Marten, please.
Mr. Chairman, St. Martin is an island, and that's a physical and geological fact. An island can have different symbolic meanings. On one hand, it can symbolize isolation, separation, and vulnerability. But an island also symbolizes strength, self-reliance, determination, courage, and independence. My main message here today, while St. Martin is an island, in its physical sense, is that we're not an island in a global sense. Mr. Chairman, have you ever heard of the story of the frog that got placed in a pot of water? And when the heat was turned on, it later came to a boil and the frog eventually died? Well, that's where St. Martin is right now. We don't even know we're in boiling water heading to our doom. Why is that, Mr. Chairman? Because the many developments taking place at a global, kingdom, and local level are affecting us right now, Mr. Chairman, and will continue to affect us more in the future. Mr. Chairman, as we enter the fourth and final year of the current parliamentary term, let us look back and reflect on the past 3.5 years within the kingdom. Apart from effects of the lockdown, the government and parliament have not been able to function optimally due to different stumbling blocks. I will just name a few. Let me start with the Che Cre Coho. This saga, which ended in the retraction of the Coho Law, confirmed that we as an island are still at the mercy of our colonizer. Conditions was forced down the throats of our citizens, and these conditions will still have generations to come paying back hundreds of millions of our own money, mind you, to our colonizers. And Mr. Chairman, this so-called country package that replaced the Coho is just as bad, if not worse. It will keep St. Martin under the control of the Dutch government for decades to come. A prime example, Mr. Chairman, of modern-day colonialism. And this relationship, this constitutional structure, Mr. Chairman, is the root of all our problems because it blocks our right to developmental justice as a small island development state, just as Dr. Sumer called it during her recent presentation in this honorable house. So let me repeat it again in a stronger terms. This current, abusive, non-functional, one-sided, undemocratic, colonial constitutional relationship between St. Martin and Holland is the root of most of our problems. Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, looking back at the past 3.5 years as a former coalition member that once supported this present Council of Ministers, I must conclude that this government has been daydreaming since it took office. Despite the many nice words, promises, excuses, letters, consultation, and other sessions, photo ops and handshakes, no clear, practical, and realistic vision has been executed. None of the overarching local issues have been addressed, and nothing tangible has been achieved to benefit our people. Our government seems to be paralyzed as a hostage and victim to our colonizer, not knowing how to defend the paramount interests of the people. Mr. Chairman, how far are we with the associate members of CARICOM? Curso has it. Why hasn't government clearly asked the UN states in the region for support with finalizing our decolonization process? That's at the purview of the Prime Minister to do. Why hasn't government insisted on the joint execution of the De Graaf and the Van Raak motions? Why hasn't government demanded a follow-up on the CERD report and the Article 73 fact sheet? Why hasn't government followed up on the so-called apology from the Dutch state by demanding debt cancellation based on a motion that was unanimously passed in this honorable house? What is government doing about food waste, security, and pricing? How is government going to secure a sustainable financial economic future for our country? How is government going to safeguard our nation's interests in light of the instability of the Dutch government? Mr. Chairman, between GB, airport, and Telem sagas, the blatant disregard and brazen disrespect for the High Council of States, the lack of respect consistently being shown towards justice workers, the inhumane treatments of our inmates, and not enough being done for our seniors, and there's so much more, and I can go on and on, Mr. Chairman. What sort of precedence is this government setting? And where are the solutions, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, so there you had Grisha Heyliger-Marten. Now, of course, the tallest member of Parliament had to speak on the United People's Party part. Now, it goes without saying that the United People's Party has their share of issues this parliamentary 3.5 years. First, they couldn't keep a minister of Tiat. I think we had 3 or 4, the most in history. Some were up for the job, some were not up for the job. Then you had also, what else? The situation of calling the leaders, the founders of the United People's Party wife, Grisha Heyliger-Marten, a colleague in Parliament, dumb. How dare he? Because she's not. Strike me, God. Strike me. No? Okay. No. It's a joke. It's a comedy show. Relax. Before all the feminists come for me. So she left there. Okay, cool. All right. So they had that. Of course, everybody had UP dead. Oh my God. UP can't come back. UP is over it. Oh, he destroyed it completely because the founder's wife completely left. And then as soon as she left, all of a sudden, gone up. I was saving that the whole time. I was saving that one. You get it? Because they gone up, they was down. And then Grisha left, and then they up. Because they up. All right, they had the Congress. And then you notice that more people came back actually than left. Like, what the hell is that? You would think that if the founder's wife left the United People's Party, everybody would follow her. They would be like, no, Grisha, go ahead. I cool over here. Go ahead. Tamara Leonard come back. Frankie Myers come back. Everybody just come back. They're like, oh my God, what's going on? I thought everything was going good. They even have members from the DP joining up. But I'm going to save that for another show. Ta-ta-ta. All right. So the tallest member of parliament also had to distinguish the difference between the National Alliance and the United People's Party because, like the idiot he is at times, he's always been talking good about the National Alliance being the greatest party ever because they're partners and so on. But no, like Siamese twins, they had to cut away from each other. And today, he did that. Basically stating, hey, the UP had only 2 ministers and look what we do. Look at the drama happening with the National Alliance. And they got majority. But let me sip my tea. Oh shit, I can't say that because that DP slung. No, it's not. Anyway, tallest member of parliament, Rolando Brison, in parliament today.
Mr. Chairman, this is the 4th parliamentary closing and opening that, since becoming a member of this coalition, that we have had the pleasure of experiencing. The fact is that this is the first time that one government has been able to enjoy the support of Parliament for 4 terms. And I think that is something very significant that some will try to downplay. But I have my reasons for understanding why we did not move away from the wishes of thousands and thousands of voters that said the constant drop-in of government for political play and for individualism was not something they wanted to see anymore. But Mr. Chairman, during those 4 years, what has the United People's Party been able to do? Well, let me start with you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I am very pleased in your ability to quietly and humbly restore order to the Parliament of St. Martin, considering the havoc that was being done before by your predecessor. And Mr. Chairman, contrary to popular belief, at the time when you came in as Chairman of Parliament, there were 32 outstanding meetings requiring ministers to attend. Mr. Chairman, in our last procedure meeting that we had, we found that there are now 13 outstanding meetings. So whenever they call and talk about outstanding meetings and so on, the facts will show that you as chairman have done an excellent job together with the presidium to get as many meetings that have been outstanding out of the way, and that is the manner in which Parliament should function. So I have to thank you, first of all, Mr. Chairman, for keeping your poise and doing the work in the interest of the people and representing the United People's Party well in your role. We continue to represent ourselves extremely well, both in the government and in Parliament. Because if you really dig away all of the innuendos and the melee that they try to throw our way, one thing everyone and the people of St. Martin look at when it comes to the members of the United People's Party faction here in Parliament and our representation in the government, it is at a high level of work ethic, hard work, and tangible accomplishments. Mr. Chairman, I have focused from the time I entered the Parliament to be a competent legislator that brings definite things that I know can affect the people's lives. Many will remember, of course, the UTS law that provided funds for the first time for police officers to get paid. And people would say, but Rolando, you didn't get the credit. It's not about the credit. It's about ensuring that the people that deserve what they have to get got what they needed to get. And I continue to work in that manner. Mr. Chairman, if you look at our deputy leader and minister of VSR and how he has been able to do things that for so long have gone completely unchecked, raising the minimum wage, raising the pension, dealing with the hospital. When you look at the Ministry of TIAT for the first time, expanding the basket of goods and establishing proper price control within our country. The United People's Party is proven that we did what we had to do and what we promised to the people. We come in here to work. That's what we're here for. We're here to work for the people. And Mr. Chairman, a lot of people do ask, but Rolando, are you happy with the other aspects of the government? Because no government is perfect, and there's definitely some things that I would have liked to see better. I have talked publicly and privately about our manner in handling the government-owned companies and having this so-called hands-off approach and arm's-length approach. Even the faction leader of the National Alliance has mentioned that as well. But Mr. Chairman, the fact is the United People's Party has 2 seats in the Council of Ministers out of 7. And the democracy in the Council of Ministers is that way. Because while we pulled off a miracle in going from 0 to 4 seats, the fact is, in this term, we were the smaller member of this coalition. But I didn't use that as an excuse to say we would do nothing. For example, you recently see that the Minister of VSR did not just sit back and not hear the cries of the people when it comes to GB, and took his own initiative via the Ministry of Social Affairs to do what we can. That is what we do. When the police were having issues, it was not our ministry, but we presented solutions right here in the Parliament that was executed by the government and prevented a disaster that could have happened during Carnival and beyond. I remember one of our founding members, Franklin Myers, said that during governing, the right thing to do is focus on your similarities. And during an election, you do highlight your differences. And the fact is, there are many differences in the manner that the United People's Party would want to govern, would want to lead, and those will be highlighted in the coming months. But Mr. Chairman, I don't want us to lose sight of what is truly important and what the people actually want to see. I believe that St. Martiners are now waking up to the dream that was being sold to them by people. That now when Hushangs Ansari's damage to the country is now on the front page every other day, they can realize that those were not the good old days. Those were the days when you were being told, while you're hungry and given a slice of bread, when you deserve a loaf or a bakery for that matter, but because the person gave you a slice of bread, you think they gave you something. No, St. Martin was held back for 30 years almost. Just looking at Mullet Bay alone, and when you connect the dots of everything else and who are all connected to it, the people of St. Martin's eyes are finally open. All of this discussion we're having now about ENI and so on, where did it start? And who was in power all these times? For 30 years. Mr. Chairman, that trend is finally being broken.
Shots fired. Call the police. Call 911. You see them shots? People, you see them shots? You hear it? Can anybody follow that? Yes, they can. PFP. Oh my gosh.
No, but MP Brison, look, MP Brison, this is exactly why I have confidence in you. You're a very intelligent young man. I know that from day one when I met you, which you know how that goes.
Yep.
And this is the level of discussion you need in Parliament,
That's right.
in those committees. I hope the audience and the people are listening. This is
Parliament right here would love nothing better than to say, let's allocate 10 million guilders towards helping our issues in social needs and so on. But how are we to do that when we have all of these conditions of, well, you can't get more liquidity, you need to cut, you need to do this. Many of us feel like we're in a position where we can't fully extend our ability to legislate.
But my decision is to stay where I'm at. At the end of the day, the way that MP Rolando Brison leads, he allows me to work. He gives me that freedom to work. It's not always a phone call of pressure or do this, do that, don't do this, and that's part of the reason that I'm able to produce.
Any of the difficulties that this government faces today, I didn't sit down, do nothing, and have my staff write press releases. No, I got up and asked myself from opposition benches, what can I do? So I read my constitution, the one I swore to uphold, which gives us the rights to bring laws, to bring amendments, interpellation rights, inquiry rights. So we asked ourselves the questions at the time, what have we done? Regardless of...
He has represented this country qua what is expected of a parliamentarian professionally, and I can align myself with that.
Simply gone through a very difficult economic time and are simply asking of the tax department an opportunity to have a payment plan. And it seems that this is really done kind of like if they feel like how you talk to them, it's extreme.
St. Martin, we probably go far, and we know, search for a sign of a change. A Chino, you know it got days when you feel like a zero. I woke up this morning, but feel like Mark Mingo. Tomorrow be a better day. Respect is the key, education gon' matter, so don't you try to run away. St. Martin, the place where the food is good, the people is good, the music is good. We living like we on a road. They're trying to take us down, but I'm thinking cause they really don't. Misunderstood. Oh Lord, help us protect ourselves, help us look in ourselves. We're searching for what they call the fire that's in ourselves. I just want to see the best for my motherland. I just want the whole world here to understand that we came from the bottom of the sewer, now we heading way up, high up unto Wonderland. Opportunity is yours, so make it happen. Take an action, change.
Some of them even say it's the guns on one coco, so they won't let me play, and they blaming polio. Who they think they could fool? All we know they better do fast. Polio or no polio, man we won, we must. Mama when they hear, they go get the carnival. Oh, all masqueraders on heat. Well they didn't care if it was official, but they start turning peace on the street. And they start to jump around, and they start to tumble down, and they fall down on the ground. If you see how they did, but what was so comical in the midst of Bacchanal? Rain comes and wash out Martin Bay. Who they think they could fool? All we know they better do fast. Polio or no polio, man we won, we must. Mama when they hear, they go get the carnival. Oh, all masquerade.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? But sorry, no sir. They got this game tonight and I can't miss it. Me and my boy, we gotta watch the game, So I bringing this in. You check? Alright, let me watch your leg go. Watch your leg.
Sir, sorry. Why so difficult? Look, I'm watching TV here on my phone with the Tel TV Plus app. You really gotta upgrade.
Okay, so tell me about the Tel TV Plus. I hear about this.
Okay, So once you apply for Tel TV Plus, you can enjoy it anytime on the go.
Anytime?
Anytime.
On the go?
On the go. You simply download the app, log into your account at any time, sit back and enjoy. You will never have to miss your match.
Yo, bus driver, take me back to tell him now, please.
Make way, the prime is here, divine is here, giving that vibe is clear. The woman I am today was made to serve us. Head high, I stand firm, my words hit with purpose. Like stop moving, it's been proven, women we're not losing.
Melissa Gumbs spoke on behalf of the Party for Progress, who has nothing but complained for the past 3.5 years. And they will continue complaining for the past 3.5 years and the next 3.5 years, because they believe that their role in Parliament is not to legislate, but to complain. You get up, eat? I hope so, because I don't want to complain about it, but I'll just complain for complaining's sake, because I'm a member of Parliament and I need to sort out all the different things that you're doing wrong, because I can't do it, because I'm not in majority. So therefore, I'll just complain about it. So I need to sound the alarm and tell you how much of a bad job you're doing, but I won't tell you how I'm going to do it better because I'm in opposition. But maybe if you give me more seats, next election, I might be part of government, and then I might not complain, I might just, do something. Because PFP only have one member in Parliament, let's just face it, And then, of course, they pick up the stray, independent member of Parliament, Ludmila de Weever. We're going to go to her just now. But anyway, it was comical, it was interesting. She gave some facts by basically giving a timeline of the things we already know. PFP.
A 4-year mandate is what is being celebrated here today, Mr. Chairman, and loudly so. The first in our young country's history, and the banner which this government waves so proudly as they drive around. Salaries, bills, and reconstruction paid for, thanks in large part to the Leona Marlin government and to this opposition faction that I'm representing today. Mr. Chairman, I offer up a moment of silence. A moment to recall the statements made by members of this current coalition that the same Leona Marlin government had the country for sale and that the trust fund would have no future in St. Martin with them at the helm. Their conviction was so strong that they found it necessary to drop government in 2019, only to have to put their tails between their legs and implement and execute the very same trust fund. It's not rocket science to recognize, St. Martin, that they knew they couldn't change it, that the reasons for toppling government in 2019 were false, and that they've worked tirelessly since 2020 to manipulate you into believing that they've succeeded where all others have failed. It's cute to claim victory after bombing your predecessors, or very neo-colonial of them. For the naysayers and the critics, the proof is on YouTube. One of their ministers stated at a public event in June of this year that the trust fund is the best thing that could have happened to St. Martin. And I've got the clip if anyone needs it. Mr. Chairman, a second moment of silence. For the complacency of current coalition members who, for the sake of their own position, have continued to demonstrate a rabid willingness, almost an urgency, to set aside principles of good governance and accountability from the beginning. The most glaring examples from this term are the Vineyard Heights land debacle, the SARE debacle, and the Ombudsman's waste management report. Do not forget, St. Martin, how your High Council of State was disregarded, disrespected, and called into question by the very members of Parliament who put her there. This faction hasn't. In fact, when we tried to hold the minister accountable for his poor handling and decision-making, they threw a Hail Mary from the borders of Panama to save him. Mr. Chairman, another moment of silence, please. For all the times this government and its supporters focus more on clout, clickbait, and patting themselves on the back for doing the bare minimum. for having the meeting to plan, to have the meeting for the plan, for being so far beyond the limit of their Peter principle that they congratulate themselves for being impressive on the international stage, and then when we, the people, check on news source that's not committed to their pockets, it turns out that our international reputation at certain labor organizations is in the trash can. And Mr. Chairman, one final moment of silence. For the people of St. Martin, who over the past 4 years have become even more left behind, not left behind by the people that this coalition tries to attack with weak challenges to integrity and performance, but by those who claim to be one while still messing things up. By those trotting out the works of others and calling it their own, pretenders on seats they had to force themselves into. And again, I have to begrudgingly admire the blatant imperialism of it all. I guess they're more like the Dutch than they think. 4 uneasy moments for 4 uneasy years. And imagine the impact on the people of St. Martin. I'm not without some grace for this government, Mr. Chairman. These have been challenging times, but they were challenging before they climbed over the remains of the previous one to sit there, so I'm not convinced much grace is warranted. Nevertheless, I have it, however small the amount may be. As we move into a new parliamentary year, Mr. Chairman, with the January election looming, I just have one main question, one that I've had since 2020, one that the people still have. What is the actual plan?
Now, I know everybody's wondering, where's Auntie Sarah? Auntie Sarah was supposed to take us home. But apparently, Auntie Sarah did not attend the closing of Parliament because she knew that a trap was coming. There was going to be a trap. Because you have to understand that Auntie Sarah has ran with the United Democrats for the past 2 elections. And then she's going to move back to the Democratic Party. How are you going to justify it on the floor of Parliament? Remember, the only reason why you did UD the last time without Theo was because, you know, you don't want no part of the corruption and you don't want no Heiligers anymore to this UD thing. And the UD is, you know, a different party and the UD is black and have different, the color black, okay? Have different people inside and you know, they separate from the Heiligers. And now they pick up a Heiliger. So you can't just come to the closing of Parliament and say the UD. No. So Auntie Sarah did the smart thing. What she's done all the time. Not show up. Had something to do. Sorry. So Auntie Sarah wasn't there. However, Ludmila de Weever, our independent member of Parliament, was present. And she's now part of the PFP. And I need you to, again, understand that this independent member is one of the bravest politicians I've seen in this decade. Because this is the only member of Parliament that was elected for the first time in 2020. After she was elected in 2020 under the United People's Party, she was then a minister of Tiat. After she became a minister of Tiat, she like, it's too much work. People tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. No, it's too much work. No, I want to go back to Parliament. So then she goes back to Parliament under the United People's Party. When she is a United People's Party member of Parliament, it's too much work. We got to actually write laws. It's too much work. I need to do more yoga. No, I can't do it. I go independent. Then I don't have to listen to nobody. And then she goes independent. She then becomes independent. You stay with me? And then she joins another party, the PFP, who does the same thing what she did for the past 3.5 years. Government ain't doing a good job. We should hold them more accountable. Somewhere over the rainbow. It's only smart people will get that. Anyway, Member of Parliament, independent Member of Parliament, and soon to be PFP candidate, Ludmila de Weever. And then she going back for re-election to go back and become a Member of Parliament to do the same thing. I have to work as a legislator. I gotta make laws. Oh my God. Ludmila de Weever.
We are here this morning, indeed counting our blessings that we escaped Hurricane Lee. What we can't escape, however, is the continuous suffering of our people, what they are facing under this present National Alliance and United People's Party government that is supported by a very slim majority in Parliament. As we look back, unfortunately, the performance of this current government leaves very little to be proud of. Let me highlight a few of the shortfalls of this parliamentary year. In August 2022, I sounded the alarm and warned this sitting government to take action on the GB situation. I went so far as to declare that the issues facing GB were a matter of national security. This was a direct message to the government at the time, and this remains a threat today, not only to the GB employees, but the entire island. Today, we are seeing the results of improper actions and incompetence by this government and those in charge since the time of the cyber attack. While government should be focused on solving issues and running the country, it is putting efforts into deregistering citizens from the voters list, simply to prevent people from voting. I have to ask myself, how is the list being generated, and what is the criteria on who gets on the list and who is removed from the list? Is it true that government identified persons they believe wouldn't support them for this upcoming election? While government is fraudulently removing the sons and daughters of the soil from the voters' registration list, they should be focusing on all of the recommendations by the Ombudsman to eliminate corruption and rebuild trust and integrity. I remind all of us of the Transparency International report in 2015 that pointed out necessary improvements across government, and specifically the Ombudsman Office. However, this government has failed to take into account any recommendations from this institution. Why is this government intentionally ignoring the recommendations of the Ombudsman? For me, the answer is simple. It's about greed and corruption. And it is that greed and corruption that is destroying our economy. It is that greed and corruption that is destroying our children's future. It is that greed and corruption that is destroying the morale of not only our police force and justice workers, but all the civil servants. And it is that greed and corruption that is destroying the full potential of this beautiful island. So what must be done? We need a transparent and honest government working for all of St. Martin and not just the special friends. As members of Parliament, we should know to treat any allegations of misconduct and abuse of power very seriously instead of coming in and saving a minister. Let me reiterate, every government official should be expected at all times to act according to the highest standards of accountability, honesty, and integrity in carrying out his or her public duties. It is also the responsibility of each of us, whether we are sitting in government or outside of government, to hold every single representative here accountable. Never in my life did I think I would see a government celebrating destroying buildings with no concrete plans to rebuild or posing for projects like the hospital that will cost the St. Martin people significantly more money and fooling us that we should be proud of those accomplishments. But you know what, Mr. Chairman? The pain and concern that we are feeling now cannot compare to the joy that is coming after January 2024, when the people will have a new government that will definitely restore our hope for the future. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
We gotta save the best for last. And that's, of course, my boy, the one and only, Chanel Brown Bill, the original Dandada, the original man of a few words, the original USP representative in Parliament. Yes, you heard me right. The man is the most gangster parliamentarian in the history of St. Martin. The man leave up 2 times. 2 times the man leave up. Gangster. Went USP twice. Run on the USP, went to up. USP again, went to up. Then went to USP. Guess where he running for next election? Up. Gangster. I don't care what nobody said. Nobody tell me nothing. Okay? My boy Chanel. Right now. Let's go.
Mr. Chairman, as we close this Parliament's year,
I would like to look at the positive side of this journey, in which our coalition did a great job still at keeping this government together. But, Mr. Chairman, I would like to see in Parliament more maturity and unity. Why I say this, Mr. Chairman, this will make way for prosperity for the people of St. Martin. Mr. Chairman, there are so much great ideas that we can put forward on the floor of this Parliament to benefit the people of St. Martin. So, Mr. Chairman, as I mature, although I say less, I'm fully aware of the difference between productive and wasting the people's time. Mr. Chairman, I will continue to fight for balance, especially balance, so that every person and family can prosper and enjoy their life on St. Martin and not have to suffer due to poverty in St. Martin. Thank you.
And last, I ain't gonna lie. It's a reason why for the past 3.5 years I've called this man Savage Chris, because my son, I need a Pepto-Bismol. The cut ass that Chris gave these people today. The man put some life into the No Party, boy. The No Party was kind of dead these days, but he come in with a whip, and he was just bringing him back to the slave days. Licks, 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 and without mentioning the whole land and WhatsApp and whatever else going on in St. Martin on social media, the man just, everybody. Oh my gosh, that was good. Chris, you see, I know why you just run from my TV show to have interviews because, you know, I will call you out on your bullshit. But seriously, Savage Chris, good closing of Parliament. That's why we had to close with him. Let's go.
Mr. Chairman, it's a good time to say out with the old and in with the new. And this sentiment should stretch as far as this present government, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, of course, we hear so much about being the first. But of course, you can be the first in many things and also the worst, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we have witnessed a parliamentary season, a parliamentary year. We have witnessed a government, Mr. Chairman, that have spat in the face of God when it comes to moral values and the standing of which they address themselves, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we have seen the hypocrisy of a government. When forming the government, it was not good enough to align with certain individuals, but on the heel of government not being able to stay together, it was then good to grab those same individuals and form with them. Quintessentially, Mr. Chairman, the definition of hypocrisy. Mr. Chairman, we have seen a government, Mr. Chairman, that have trampled on its people, destroy the lives of their people. For what and for whom? To appease foreigners that comes from over the ocean and say that they have the best interests for the people of this country. Mr. Chairman, the only solution for St. Martin is by St. Martin people and only by St. Martin people. Nobody 8,000 miles away can decide and know what's best for us here in this country. But this government, Mr. Chairman, have allowed them to continue to direct, dictate, blackmail, and condition the mind that they are better and we are worst. Mr. Chairman, every time a new CEO perch on this country, he brings a wealth of knowledge, most experience, knows everything about, and in 2 months, he's up and gone. Mr. Chairman, we have witnessed a government, Mr. Chairman, that have taken this country into conditions and then tell its people that our backs was against the wall. Mr. Chairman, I've listened to my colleagues talk about they have done so much, and I ask, what is this so much? I've witnessed, Mr. Chairman, a government that look at a hospital and take solace and pride in celebrating moving concrete from 1 feet to 9 feet and then say we have accomplished and bring it further than where it was before. Mr. Chairman, what I'm talking about is a government and its supporters in this parliament of nothingness. A government that have done nothing for the people of this country. Mr. Chairman, I applaud my colleague on his banking initiative because I know he means well by it. But Mr. Chairman, if we don't own and dictate the rights of banking in this country, your legislation means nothing, Mr. Chairman. When I say to the people of St. Martin, secede from the central bank, own your own central bank, because, and when you hear them say that no one could do it better, speak for yourself, because you have done it worse. Mr. Chairman, we have seen a government that have blasted the previous government of Leona Romeo Martin and say they have sold out this country. They have invited the Dutch into this country. They have given Schiphol the airport of Juliana. We have seen this in this country, but when the contract was up, you extended it. Mr. Chairman, I have no intentions on lingering on this. I have said it before, I'm going to say it again. What we have experienced in this country, like never before, is a government that is the worst government ever. Mr. Chairman, we have down on the airport a body, a group, an institution called the Schiphol Group, that to this present day, we can't see nothing further. We can't see what was done. We can't see how they are helping, but millions goes into their pockets. That today the state secretary could tell us, take this money, or you will see what will happen when it comes to the refinancing of the COVID money. Mr. Chairman, many of my colleagues have spoken about what is happening today in concerning Ansari, in concerning Ania. Mr. Chairman, they are thieves, and they have robbed the people of St. Martin. The prosecutor's office is a criminal organization because they have no capacity to go after a billionaire, but they can send 10 and 12 individuals into my home because then they find capacity was well. Mr. Chairman, we have seen an organization that comes and tells the people of St. Martin, we can't go after him. We can't go after him because we don't have the manpower. We have seen and heard a state secretary that is telling the people of St. Martin, I care about you. But from 2014, you knew this, and you said St. Martin is an autonomous country, Curacao is an autonomous country, so we can't get involved. Aren't we still autonomous now? We have seen a government that turns a blind eye and stick their head in the sand and trying to ignore the importance and the detrimental effect of this Ania saga that it can have on our people. Mr. Chairman, when we continue to bring in these white people into our country to run our airport and run our airlines, it is dangerous. The good Bible of Deuteronomy 28 says, foreigners who live in your land will gain more and more power while you gradually lose yours. They will have money to lend you, but you will have none to lend them. In the end, they will be your rulers.
Believe it or not, that does it. Yeah, I hope you get to play all the commercials. Either way, thank you so much for joining us. The opening of Parliament takes place on Tuesday. That's when the governor gives the whole speech. Yeah, I don't cover that because that's where the Council of Ministers gives the governor a speech of what they're going to do for the next year. And of course, they are going to do the world because it's an election year. So they're going to do all kinds of things. Nah, I ain't up for that. But I think I should have a politics tomorrow, so let's wait and see. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Until tomorrow, do have a better day tomorrow. Bye.
I'm still in shock, I can't understand. I am so disappointed.